you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now, it's Judge. Probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We are going to be reviewing the draft lottery, which we'll get right to it. But I am joined by the man in the top 10, Austin.
I appreciate that Kevin would take me in the lottery, but do you feel like, I don't know if you watched it, but was it a little bit anticlimactic the entire 30 minutes?
So I watched it. I do feel that, but I had the sound off while I was cooking because I didn't want to be hearing when the Mavericks picked. And I just wanted to glance over and see the Mavs. Because the Mavs, of course, because I thought they were going to get 11. So I didn't want to disturb my mood. I just wanted to look, and I'm like, okay, it happened what I wanted. I got what I wanted. Sweet, we're 10. I can go back. And then I turned it up when it got into the top 3.
Understandable. Well,
yeah, it seemed relatively quick, but I did have my sound off, so
understandable. Understandable. I don't really blame you for having the sound off. I didn't really gain anything by having the sound on. There's a lot of games that I watch with muted because announcers not all announcers are the best at announcing, so I'll just rather watch it muted. But the Wizards, apparently, the team that I cheer for, one ball away. They had a 54.5% chance of winning it once the first 3 balls were rolled. But the last one just wasn't right. And so it's weird how they do it. It's not like they just roll a ping pong ball and that's who gets the first pick, second pick, third pick, fourth pick. It's like they draw 4 and there's certain combinations. And I think it was 14, 8, 6. And the last one for the Wizards had to be 3. Ended up being 2. And that combination was for the Spurs. And like the percentage of combinations is your percentage. So the Wizards had 6.5% of combinations between 14, 8, 6, whatever. There was probably another one that was like 12, 7, whatever. But the Spurs combination was brought up, and that accounted for the 4 that we saw.
Yeah. So the full draft order is 14-1. We got Pelicans at 14, Raptors, Thunder, Magic, Mavericks, Jazz, Wizards, Pacers, Magic, Pistons, Rockets, Blazers, Hornets, Spurs. Yeah, and I remember, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember saying Wembanyama is probably going to be a Spur when we were talking about.
We need to check what possible videos that could be on, because I don't know if that happened. It wouldn't surprise me if you made that prediction, but I don't necessarily remember it happening. So
I'm gonna look up the video, but there's so many, and check out all the videos we have. But
we can do this off air and just check, and then we can update come draft time that you predicted it, because technically speaking, he's not a Spur yet, even though he's a Spur.
And if the Spurs, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, the Spurs could take Scoot, but not Wembanyama.
No, they can't take Scoot. Yeah. They can't. And I do think it's really fitting that a French player who's going to go number 1 goes to a team that had the greatest French player arguably ever in Tony Parker.
Yes, that's very true. I also thought if there was a team that Wembanyama most likely would not be a bust in, it's probably the Spurs. Because the last 2 picks, they've drafted a center at 1. It worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah, that's understandable. The only thing that could make him, not necessarily a bust, because I don't believe in calling injury-prone players busts, but definitely a disappointment, is, like I kind of insinuated there, injuries. I don't think he could ever become a bust in San Antonio skill-wise. But if we're talking like a Greg Oden's not a bust, in my opinion, because his knees completely gave out. He's just a big disappointment because KD was right there for the taking.
But the thing is that I just thought of, who was the team that first started doing load management?
I mean, I get where you're going with this with Kawhi.
Before it became like if you had a scale of like no load management and super load management, the team that was in the middle and the player that really started it was Kawhi Leonard when he was on the Spurs. So it seems like the Spurs know how to deal with injuries and prevent injuries, which would
they're a smart staff that you have to be in a quote unquote small market. They're still considered a quote unquote small market, even though San Antonio has a lot of people there. Just how much it's worth to be the owner of the Spurs. It's still a low to low middle market team, and to win championships, especially the 5 that they have won, and they've been to 6, you have to be a very intelligent team, organization, coach, etc. And I definitely think that they're going to do that.
Yeah, but we can move on. Some other surprising things, or just happy things for me, was it stunk that the Pistons got at 5, but I was happy the Rockets got 4.
Yeah, that's understandable. And the thing about people getting mad that the Pistons got the 5th pick, they just had the number 1 pick a couple years ago. Like, at some point, you're not going to be lucky every year they get the number 1 pick.
This is why you don't put everything into the number 1 overall pick. That's why you make trades, which they did. They have James Wiseman. They have Jalen Duren, some other centers. And you can still get a pretty good player at 5. The thing, though, for me is Portland at 3. Apparently, there's a rumor going around. I'm back on Twitter. They could package Anthony Simons and the 3 pick for some small forward, for a good small forward. I
wouldn't trade. The 3 is very valuable in this draft. This is arguably going to be the best draft of all time. Like, if we just look before the draft, there's so many prospects that I'm extremely high on, thinking that they're going to be elite. And this is definitely contending with 2003 with LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh, and all them. So I do believe that this has the potential to be the best draft ever. And if you are given a pick in the best draft ever, you don't trade it. And I have seen a lot of Mavs fans saying, trade number 10 now. We got number 10.
I'm on team trade number 10.
You are?
Yeah. Even if it's... So I think the best case scenario would be you trade back, get a veteran, but you get a first-round pick or a second-round pick back that you can still use in this draft, so you get a younger player.
Instead of just going for a more established pick at 10, you want to trade back to, let's say, 28 and get 54 back, and then...
And like a veteran that can help me more. Because the thing is that I've been seeing from a lot of, I don't know, Mavs media, and like the stats are saying, because the Mavs are in a unique spot where they need to compete now, or Luka's probably going to leave. Or it's going to just be bad.
We've seen good rookies, though, contribute to winning.
But not in the playoffs. That's the stats that I've been seeing.
What about Christian Brown?
Not sure. That doesn't ring a bell.
Denver Nuggets player. His last name looks like Braun, but his last name's actually Brown.
I'm blanking. What was that in his first year of drafting?
He's a rookie right now playing for the Nuggets in the playoffs. Okay. He plays about 13, 14 minutes a night, and he plays pretty significant minutes.
Okay. But they were saying with like the 10 pick, I don't know.
He was not a high pick. He was 21.
I don't know. With the Mavs though, there's a lot. Like I would be if like Jarris Walker is a guy I'm kind of interested in. I haven't done a lot of draft research, but
we'll probably do 2 or 3 videos before the draft that are about the draft, and I will mention how much I think that Jarris Walker, his potential is through the roof, but we'll get to that eventually.
We'll see. Oh yeah, but I'm currently on team trade the pick. But I also think the draft really starts with at number 2 with the Hornets, because I don't know which way they go. Do they go Scoot or Brandon Miller?
I believe Scoot's the better player, and even though they have a lot of guards, I take Scoot, but they may trade down. They may pick Brandon Miller. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm really interested in them.
I think
the
one thing I would like to mention quickly. Sorry to interrupt. Is
no, you're good.
If I think part of the reason why Portland wants to trade the pick is that they fear that the Hornets are going to take Brandon Miller. Or why would you trade the number 3 pick in Anthony Simons for a small forward when you just draft Brandon Miller? So I think they think that the Hornets are going to take Brandon Miller, and that's why they're trying to trade the pick.
That's a good idea. I also agree. I think they're going to go small forward. But I understand going Scoot because I know Scoot's also a great prospect.
Scoot's the best player available at 2.
Yeah.
So do you go best player available or team need? And when a player is that good, I'm in the camp of best of player available when you're in the top, 4 best available is not necessarily what every team does, but every team should do probably. Because if they're that highly rated, especially in a draft like this, I believe it's more beneficial to go for best available. Because that peak, that high, is so high that it doesn't matter if they fit. It just matters if they're going to be that next really good player. And we've seen that before where it's worked and other times where it hasn't. But I believe, again, it didn't matter. For example, if the Wizards had the number 1 pick, which I said had 54.5% chance of happening, it was more likely than not after the first 3 balls were rolled. Having KP and Victor on the same team may be a little bit of a problem because you have a 7-5 guy and a 7-4 guy on the court at the same time. So how's that going to work? But it doesn't matter where the first pick is Wembanyama. That doesn't matter. If somehow the Nuggets were to get the first pick, it was impossible. I'm just saying semantics wise. If it did happen, they're still taking Wembanyama because he's that much better. When you take best available in that top 4, top 5 range, I believe you're getting a very, very good player instead of looking for the best power forward in the top 4 and then you reach on somebody. Even though in this draft it wouldn't be a reach, but that's kind of my point.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, I don't know. It depends with me, but if I were in the Hornets, I'm debating because then maybe you could trade Rozier and get off some money because that's the guard. They also have Dennis Smith, right?
Dennis Smith's a good defensive and passing point guard. I don't think they move off of him. He'll be a good bench guy.
Yeah, no.
I do think you could play Scoot and LaMelo together because LaMelo's a 6'7", 6'8" point guard, and you could play a 6'7", 6'8" point guard with Scoot, who I believe is 6'2", 6'3".
And Scoot's really good defensively.
I don't know about really good, but he's good.
Yeah. But, is there anything else? The Magic stick out to me because I think this.
Here's something I want to ask you. Here's something I want to ask you off of that with the Magic because you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
If you're Portland or the Hornets, does 6 and 11 get you the 3 pick or the 2 pick in this draft? Because it's so deep, 6 and 11 could be very, very valuable. And the Magic could be like, I want to get Scoot. I don't want to have to take to a small forward and a center because I already have Paolo Banchero and all these other guys and Franz Wagner, other young guys. I want to get a point guard. Let's trade up and get Scoot. We'll give you 6 and 11. Would you take that? I think I would.
I would ask for did you say you would?
I think I would.
Yeah, I would take that and maybe see if I can get just an extra player, but not a big player, but just kind of player, if that makes sense. I'm trying to see who they probably. Do you think they value Jonathan Isaac a lot? The Magic?
I mean, he's been hurt a billion times. I don't think they would value him a lot.
Because if I'm let's say, I don't think the Hornets would take it, but if I'm Portland, but yeah, Hornets would probably ask for maybe Gary Harris. I don't know. Jonathan Isaac, I think, could be someone you send that in the 6 and 11, like you said, for number 3. And then you get one of those players. But they could try for 2, and there may be a player that that they're not in love with that the Hornets may like.
Yeah, I believe the Hornets need this pick more than Portland does. But both of those teams are teams that need vast improvement quickly.
Yes, and Portland, if Scoot's at 3, then I would take Scoot. Even though then you'd have a ton of guards, but you'd figure it out. But yeah, I think we'll keep you updated. Any final thoughts before we end this?
No, I'm excited for the draft. If we turn the page on that, and while games are going on, we can start thinking about who our favorite team's going to take.
Yes, that's very true. We'll see, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.